Hello, everyone, once again. This is Rob, and welcome back to Media Awareness and another book review. Before I get to that, however, a reminder the fundraiser continues. For those of you new to my channel or unaware, I am a disabled individual and I use a motorized wheelchair slash scooter all day, every day for my independence, and I need your help. My insurance will not cover anything with regard to my scooter as they view it as a quote luxury item end quote. Despite the fact that I am unable to walk whatsoever, in addition to being unable to use any other type of power chair or even a standard wheelchair for that matter, as I only have limited use of one hand. In addition to that, I do not have a backup scooter or wheelchair at the current time, so if my scooter does malfunction, as it recently did, I will yet again be a fish out of water, a scenario that I would like to avoid at all costs. With that stated, below the title of this video in the description, as well as in a separate section below the information pertaining to this video, you will find a spot fund link. It's a fundraising link, and it's easy to contribute. It takes a few seconds, and you can even contribute anonymously, and even $5 or $10 can help out with the fundraising, as I am far from reaching my target goal. And what I'm endeavoring to do is refurbish my existing scooter as well as save for a new scooter in light of what recently occurred and was alluded to. Um, with regard to that, my scooter itself uh, was inoperative for roughly 2 weeks, um, and I had to rely on family and friends to push me around in my scooter for that 2 week time frame, and it was severely traumatizing psychologically. Basically, having my only means of independence robbed from me, essentially, and not really having any way to uh, fix that any sooner than it was done. Um, so I am trying to obtain the replacement parts for my existing scooter, which is a scooter from 2019. It is now 2024, and it has seen a lot of wear and tear, and the parts are beginning to fail, so they need replacing. But in addition to that, having a new scooter to use on a consistent basis would be advantageous, as I could use my scooter that is being refurbished as my backup in the event the new scooter fails. That way, I'm never without my means of independence in my life. So that's my goal. That's what I'm aiming for, and I really think it's not an unrealistic goal. So I really would appreciate any and all help that you could offer. And I do want to extend a gracious thanks to those who have contributed thus far, in addition to those who plan on contributing, as your contributions have and will make a world of difference in my life. Thank you all. I love you all. On with this video. So, I recently, I've been meaning to do book reviews on my channel since I restarted my channel roughly 2 years ago, and I just never got around to it, despite reading all the time, listening to books rather on Audible. So, um, I recently finished listening to The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood, read by Claire Danes, and I just want to give my thoughts on the book itself, the plot points, and the writing style, as well as the audible performance by Claire Danes herself. Um, So I think I'll start with really Claire Danes because when I purchased the Audible book using my credit on Audible, um, I really didn't know what to expect from the book version. I had seen the Hulu original from season one on, and I was genuinely very impressed with the series. But um, although several years ago, an ex girlfriend of mine and I started reading the book together, I never really got to finish it with her, and we parted ways. So I thought, well, hell, I'll just pick this up on Audible and listen to it. And I do have to say that Claire Danes does an amazing job reading this book. She makes it believable and makes it really as if you're authentically listening to someone reading their diary or reading from uh, a journal of sorts. And it's done so well. She really does a fantastic job. So I doubt she'll ever see this video, but if so, she really did a great job. And hats off to you, Claire. Um, Amazing. I was totally captivated, and really, her reading of the story drew me in more so than prior, than even the show itself. Um, I was totally really in the moment. I was in the story, and I was experiencing it vicariously. And it's a terrifying story. So, uh, for those of you who are new to The Handmaid's Tale, it takes place in sort of an alternate reality to our own, but not too far removed from how things could be, how things could become, um, if um, if certain ideals were to shift in to certain directions. I will say that to play it safe. Um, so there's uh, the Republic of Gilead, which is the governing body of our story. And they had done away with the United States um, rather uh, effectively and rather um, secretively yet methodically over time. And that's sort of outlined throughout the story in sort of flashbacks and inner monologue thoughts of how things used to be, how our main character June, also known as Fred, um, recalls things. Now, for those of you who have seen the show but have not read the book and know the pronunciation of the name as Offred, it's the same character, same name, um, but in the book it's of Fred because it's of the house that you're serving, basically. That's what your designation is as a name. So, um, the United States of old, basically, in terms of how things occurred in the book, it wasn't too far before the book begins. Uh, a few years, we can presume. And our main character, June, we'll call her, um, recalls events of how things were leading in the direction of this uh, sort of takeover and this uh, gradual yet steady um, disintegration of what was into what it had become. And it's little things like, certain aspects of government being done away with, um, and rules being put in place to limit the gender equality in terms of day to day events like shopping. Um, Things like that were just gradually taken away. The use of paper money was replaced by key cards. Um, that would basically, like credit card type things, that just, it was what you would use as opposed to um, paper money at all, which will probably be how it is eventually anyway. But in this case, um, it was part of this step, part of these steps that took place in the gradual yet steady takeover of Gilead, but or taking Gilead taking over, I should say, of the United States as a former entity at that point in time, and there are references to the colonies, which are places where people are sent to clean up from uh, wars, like the war that was fought, and they're basically death sentences because uh, there's so much radiation and poison in those areas that you don't want to be there. If you are fertile as a woman, you can be designated as a handmaid, which June is basically determined to be. And there are flashbacks that take place to the Red Center, as it's called, which was the basic training place for handmaids before they were placed into homes. And they references to Aunt Lydia, who was one of the main people that was an instructor of this uh, Red Center. And it's it's interesting because it's not terribly far fetched at all. Margaret Atwood really did a great job in making this as realistic as possible, as grounded in reality as possible, as a plausible future, basically, as stated, if things were to go certain ways in our consciousness of a country. Um, so the public consciousness shifts one way or the other, it shifts all the time. But if it were to shift too far in one direction, you'd have this Gilead. And like I said, we follow the character of June, and it's a fairly straightforward story in the book. June is not pleased about being a handmaiden. She's not pleased about having to basically act as a uh, baby machine for the commander who she's assigned to, Commander Waterford. June recalls him, not him per se, his wife, Serena Joy, from TV appearances she'd seen her on years ago. And Serena is far older in the book than she is in the TV uh, series. With that stated, though, the character is basically the same and is played the same. And we have Nick, who is also on the grounds. Nick is sort of like a groundskeeper for Commander Waterford and chauffeur and uh, just an all around handyman security. He does it all. Um, but he also has a certain affinity for June and a soft spot for June. And at a certain point, it is determined that June and um, Commander Waterford, during the ceremony to become pregnant, um, it's deemed unsuccessful basically by Serena Joy, and Serena arranges for Nick to impregnate June as opposed to continuing with the commander. In the meantime, however, just prior to that, the commander had taken June across the border of their lands to a place called Jezebel's. And it was basically an alternate to being sent to the colonies. And it's basically a glorified whorehouse, for lack of better words, for the elite. And they engage in all types of activities with all types of individuals, and it is completely overlooked by the elite. They turn a blind eye to it because they recognize that these people have their desires as well, and they're going to fulfill them one way or the other. So they just let this go, basically. And they're not wrong in that aspect because they are going to fulfill those needs in one way or the other. So they make this a place for this to happen. And there's an old hotel that was repurposed for this, and obviously it works out well. And June, while there, meets up with her friend Moyer, Moya. Um, my apologies. And Moyer is one of her friends from before, as it was stated in the book several times, and pre-Gilead, basically. And they were longtime friends, and um, Moyer basically fills in June on what happened with her and how things occurred with her as she was able to escape the Red Center um, by really uh, effective yet dangerous means. It's actually played out in the show exactly the same, and with the exception of June not going with her. Um, so June finds out later on from Moira that this is how she escaped. Uh, we don't really know what happens to Moira after the story. In the show, we find out, but that's the show. The book itself, though, focuses on June primarily And when June is on her way to the stores um, to get uh, food or whatever supplies she sent for with her um, accompanying handmaid as they have to walk in twos, um, she realizes that this girl that's walking with her starts to feel her out basically and see how loyal she is to the government of Gilead or whether or not she is sort of vying for the way things used to be. And uh, the handmaiden does uh, eventually trust June enough to let her in on the fact that there is an underground, there is a escape basically, but it's obviously dangerous, and it gets you thinking, and they have these little conversations together when they can. And then one day in particular, when June is supposed to meet up with her, she is met by her, the handmaid, and she notices, though, as she's approaching, that there's a different stance, a different walking, a different appearance, um, despite the fact their faces are covered by these like head wraps and wings, basically. And June asks, where is of so and so, asking for the previous girl, and the girl replies, "I am of so and so," basically implying she'd taken the place of the girl who was previously assigned, who was part of the resistance. And when they conclude their shopping trip, it is also revealed that by her that the girl prior to her hung herself as opposed to being taken and questioned. Um, Now, how true that is up for debate because she could have been told that simply to keep herself in line, or uh, whatever the case. In the show, obviously things are different, but in this particular uh, recollection that we get from June's perspective solely, we have her recounting what she's experiencing. And she goes back into the grounds of her home and is immediately confronted by Mrs. Waterford, or Serena Joy, and she is uh, being confronted with uh, the disguise that Mr. Waterford had her June wear to get her out of uh, the areas past all the posts and into Jezebel's, because Serena Joy found the clothing with lipstick stains on it and various things of that nature, and June is sent up to her room, and she's panicking, not really realizing what her punishment may be, and right around that time, a black van pulls in which is not a good sign because whenever black fans are around, they are there to basically pick up people who are causing trouble and deal with them. And Nick uh, comes up the stairs and comes in the room, addresses June, and basically says to her, "It's Mayday," implying that she's going to be safe and that this is on him and he arranged for her to be freed. Now, we don't know if that's indeed what happened. We don't know if she is necessarily the one who was free. We can presume as much by the uh, chapter that follows, which is a symposium which takes place years after. And uh, it discusses the events of the recollections and how some names don't match up and some places and different little details like that. So they're sort of questioning the legitimacy of the Handmaid's Tale as a story, as an actual authentic uh, account of what June experienced, as she was able to record it onto cassettes apparently, and they were able to recover these cassettes years and years later. So it's really, I recommend the book highly, especially if you have an open mind and if you are a person that is, uh, how can I put this nicely, uh, a bit more liberal in your thought process. Even if you are conservative, I think it wouldn't hurt to read this, um, as there are certain things that I feel should be brought to attention and certain things that maybe the public at large should open their eyes to. And I, like I said, the Hulu original series, I do recommend it, but um, before watching the Hulu original, read the book. And if you are on Audible, or if you have Audible as an app on your phone, computer as I use it, uh, I really recommend listening to Claire Danes read the story. Like I said, she brings a whole new dimension of realism to the character of June and the account that's being told, the emotion that she injects into certain parts where emotion is needed is done phenomenally. She really, really does a bang up job on the narration of this book, and uh, I've I haven't been that impressed with an audiobook in quite some time. So I definitely give her a lot of praise for doing so, and for Margaret Atwood for writing something that was as controversial as it is to this day. I mean, it's really, uh, it takes a lot of uh, balls, basically, to write something that is that controversial and that is that cutting edge. And it stands up well to this day. And it's one of those stories I don't think will really ever age, um, necessarily because of the certain elements of the story itself. Whereas, yeah, technology is different in our day and age now. In a show that's reflected accurately as to what it is now, But also, though, in the book, it's done well enough so that we get an idea of what is occurring, why it's occurring, and um, we have a definitive uh, picture painted by June of what she's going through. Now, like I said, whether or not it's authentic is up for debate at the end of the book itself, as it's basically revealed that they were reviewing this documentation, this recording rather, that was uncovered, and um, I really like the way that's done in terms of the writing itself. The style of writing is perfect for the story itself. It's done in first person and it is done flawlessly. You get the complete picture of June, of who she is, of her past, of um, her previous uh, relationships prior to being prior to Gilead taking over, with her mother, um, with her uh, daughter, with her husband Luke. Um, there's just so much that is brought into focus afterwards, and it's just so well done. I can't recommend it enough. So do yourself a favor and read The Handmaid's Tale, or listen to it on Audible. And like I said, listen to Claire Danes read an amazing book in her amazing way, as she really just gives it her all. And uh, it's widely available in paperback, as well as hardcover, I believe. Uh, it's available in all formats, and you would be really missing out if you didn't pick up a copy in some way, shape, or form and do yourself a favor and read it. It will enlighten you and it will definitely make you think twice about what's occurring in the world today and what's been occurring or in the world throughout the years. This is Rob with Media Awareness, and I was real pleased to bring you this book review. I didn't do a compare and contrast in this case with the TV show. I didn't feel it was necessary. I feel they both are yet similar but different. And they are different enough to stand on their own. And if you'd like me to do a review of the TV show or of the Hulu original, rather, just leave it in the comments. I will do so. Or if you feel free to reach out to me via the Facebook link in the description, it's my direct Facebook link. You're more than welcome to contact me there. I do take requests there as well for music reactions, music reviews, movie reviews, etc. You can also contact me via my email address, also found in the description. And of course, there's the Amazon Media Awareness wish list where you can pick and choose items for me to unbox, review, etc. I will see you all again soon. Once again, a reminder the fundraiser continues. Please do what you can. Any and all help is welcome. And have a wonderful morning, noon, or night, wherever you are. Take care. Bye.